The stars were calm in the far edge of the galaxy. The Imperial patrol ship ISS Sentinel drifted along its regular route, scanning for pirates or smugglers. Most patrols were quiet. The Outer Rim was far from the Empire's great cities, and trouble rarely came this way. But that night, something strange appeared on the long-range scanner. Lieutenant Mara Keen leaned closer to the screen. A shadow was moving slowly across the radar, so big that the scanner took extra time to show its shape. She checked the settings, thinking it might be an error. The object was enormous, larger than any warship she had ever seen. It did not match any known Imperial or alien design in the database. She called the captain. Commander Holt stepped onto the bridge, his face tired from the slow patrol. He glanced at the display and frowned. The unknown vessel was heading toward Imperial territory, but was not answering any standard hails. It moved at a steady pace. Its signal quiet, but every reading said it carried heavy weaponry. Holt ordered a full scan. The results made no sense. The ship's hull reflected sensor beams in strange ways, like it was covered in some kind of energy skin. Its engine output was far too powerful for a ship its size. And yet, it was not the size of a battleship. Was far larger, twice as long as the Empire's dreadnoughts. And with mass readings that suggested it was heavily armored, the captain sent an urgent message to the Imperial Fleet Command. Within hours, the story began to spread, carried by whispered messages between crew members and secret calls to friends on other ships. People spoke in low voices in the mess halls. Some said it was a warship from the Krail Dominion, testing the Empire's defenses. Others claimed it was an ancient relic, drifting back into known space after centuries. A few laughed and said it was probably just a freighter with broken engines. But the reports kept coming. Other patrol ships along the border saw the same vessel, always moving with the same slow, deliberate speed. It never attacked, but it never responded to friendly signals either. The shadow of fear began to grow in the hearts of the border crews. In the capital city, high in the towers of the Imperial Military Council, the news arrived on Admiral Varine's desk. He read the first report twice. His mind searched for an explanation. Every great power in the galaxy was known to the Empire. Every warship design had been catalogued. This ship was different. It was too large, too strange, too advanced in ways they could not measure. The council gathered the next day. Around a long table sat the most powerful officers of the fleet. Maps of the Outer Rim floated above the table, showing the vessel's slow path. General Turan suggested it might be a new supership from the Vorth Alliance. Admiral Hale disagreed, saying the energy readings did not match Vorth technology. Theories filled the room, but no one had proof. Captain Lena Brooks, commander of the ISS Valor, was ordered to investigate. She listened carefully to her briefing. The unknown ship had not harmed anyone, but its size and silence were seen as a threat. Her orders were simple: locate the vessel, gather information, and, if possible, make contact. But she was told to keep her distance. No one wanted to risk a fight until they knew what they were dealing with. Lena left the council chamber feeling uneasy. She had served in the fleet for 12 years and had seen her share of strange encounters. But something about this mission felt different. The way the admirals had looked at each other, the tension in their voices, it was as if they already feared the truth. 2 days later, the Valor reached the edge of Imperial space. The unknown ship appeared on their sensors almost immediately. Even from millions of kilometers away, its outline was visible against the stars. The crew fell silent as they saw it on the view screens. It was long, dark, and bristling with turrets and strange structures. No lights marked its hull. It seemed less like a ship and more like a moving fortress. Commander Ethan Cole stood beside Lena. "That can't be real," he whispered. "It's too big. It's real," Lena said. She kept her voice steady, Though inside, she felt the same disbelief. She ordered the ship to maintain a safe distance and begin recording every detail. In the mess hall, the crew could not stop talking. Some were excited, others were nervous. The word human came up more than once. Humans were a minor species in the Empire's records. They had joined the galactic stage only a few decades ago, and their technology was still considered basic. The idea that this giant warship could be human-made was ridiculous, or so most believed. Still, the rumor grew. No one knew why. Perhaps it was the angular shape of the hull, or the way it moved with quiet precision. Maybe it was just that humans had a history of doing the impossible. Whatever the reason, the crew began to whisper that the ship was from Earth. Lena kept her focus on the mission. She knew rumors could be dangerous, especially in tense situations. But even she found herself staring at the massive ship on the screen, and wondering who had built it and what they wanted. The unknown vessel continued its slow journey toward Imperial space, and the Valar followed. Every hour brought them closer, and every hour the tension on board grew. The first meeting was coming, and no one knew what would happen when they finally saw each other face to face. Asterisk. The ISS Valor kept its distance as it followed the unknown warship. The dark giant moved with slow confidence, as if it had no fear of being tracked. Captain Lena Brooks stood on the command deck, her eyes fixed on the main screen. The ship filled most of the display, even though it was still far away. Commander Ethan Cole stood beside her. "It doesn't match anything in the database," he said quietly. "Not Imperial, not Vorth, not even close to the Dominion's ships." Lena nodded. She had already gone through the entire library of known designs. This vessel was something entirely new. Its hull was sharp and angled, with towers rising like black spires. Large weapon mounts lined the sides, but they were shaped in ways no Imperial engineer would build them. Energy readings pulsed faintly along its surface, like veins of light beneath the armor. The ship gave no response to their hails. They tried again and again on every frequency, using both voice and digital signals. The result was always the same: silence. It felt as if the massive vessel didn't even care they were there. Ethan leaned closer to the screen. "If it's a warship, it could destroy us in seconds, which is why we're not going to provoke it," Lena said firmly. "Our job is to watch, not fight." In the mess hall, the crew stared at the live feed. Conversations were hushed. No one wanted to say it too loudly, but the rumors had already reached every corner of the ship. More than a few crew members believed the vessel might be human. The thought made some of them laugh. Fit was absurd. Humans had only a handful of small ships, none of them capable of crossing the vast distances of space like this. And yet, the more they looked at the massive warship, the more the idea refused to leave their minds. Lena ordered the ship to move closer, just enough to get better scans. The Valor sensors worked to break through the strange interference surrounding the vessel. The readings came back full of anomaly shielding patterns no Imperial scientist had ever seen. A power source that registered far beyond standard. Fusion reactors, and weapons that seemed to shift in configuration when observed from different angles. Could be a projection, Ethan suggested. A visual trick to make it look bigger. Lena shook her head. "That's no trick. The mass readings confirm it. Whatever it is, it's real." The unknown ship continued on its path, not speeding up or slowing down. It moved like it had somewhere to be, somewhere important. Lena considered the possibility that it was simply passing through Imperial space on its way to another destination. If that was true, why not answer hails? Why travel so close to the Empire's borders? The Imperial Command sent new orders: maintain visual contact but avoid direct engagement unless the warship took hostile action. Reinforcements were on the way. 3 battlecruisers from the nearest fleet would arrive within 2 days. As the hours passed, the crew's nerves began to show. Some were restless, pacing the corridors. Others stayed quiet, their eyes locked. On the screens, watching the strange vessel was like staring at a storm cloud on the horizon, knowing it might pass you by, or it might unleash lightning at any moment. That night, Lena stood alone on the observation deck. Through the large forward windows, she could see the distant silhouette of the warship against the scattered stars. There was no mistaking its size. Even at this range, it was intimidating. She imagined what it would look like if it ever came close enough to tower over her ship. Footsteps approached. Ethan joined her at the window. "You ever think," he said slowly, "that maybe it's not a threat?" Lena kept her gaze on the warship. "Maybe, but the Empire doesn't take chances." "Neither do humans," Ethan said, almost as a joke, but Lena noticed the way he said it half serious. The next morning, the Valor scanners caught a sudden change. The massive warship adjusted its heading slightly, bringing it closer to the Imperial border. It still ignored every hail. The signal room tried again with new codes, even sending ancient first contact messages used for unknown species. Still no reply. Then, without warning, the image on the screen shifted. The warship rotated slowly, turning one of its broadsides toward the Valor. The movement was smooth, deliberate. "Are they looking at us?" one crew member asked. No one answered. On the display, a row of enormous gun turrets swiveled not to aim directly at the Valor, but to face the same general direction. It felt like a message, though no one could say what it meant. Lena gave the order to hold position. The two ships drifted in space, facing each other, silent and still. Minutes passed like hours. Then, without any visible signal, the warship rotated back to its original course and resumed its slow journey forward. The Valor followed at a cautious distance, its crew still trying to process what had just happened. No shots were fired. Words exchanged. Yet the encounter left the crew feeling like they had been measured, weighed, and quietly dismissed. Lena returned to her chair, her mind full of questions. Whatever this ship was, it was not afraid of the Empire. And if the rumors were true, it really was human. Then the galaxy was about to change in ways no one was ready for. Asterisk in the heart of the Imperial capital. The news from the Outer Rim arrived like a spark in dry grass. The first reports were brief and unknown warship of enormous size, spotted near the border, unresponsive to communication. But as each new message came in, the details grew stranger. The ship's power readings were beyond anything the Empire had recorded. Its shielding confused sensors. Its movement was calm and deliberate, as if it feared nothing. Inside the tall glass towers of the Imperial Military Council, the most senior officers gathered in the main chamber. A large projection of the unknown vessel hovered above the round table. Even in the hologram, its size was staggering. It made the Empire's largest dreadnought look like a patrol craft. Admiral Varen stood at the head of the table, his hands folded behind his back. "Our fleets have confirmed visual contact," he said. "The ISS Valor has followed it for 3 days. The vessel has made no aggressive moves, but it has ignored all hails." General Torin tapped the table with a finger. "It could be a Dominion trap. They have tested our borders before. Maybe they are trying to see how we respond." Admiral Hale shook her head. "The power signatures do not match Dominion designs. Nor do they match Vorth Alliance or any other known faction." A junior officer entered and placed a small data tablet in front of Varen. He glanced at it, then looked up. "The latest scan suggests the vessel's reactor output is nearly 10 times higher than any known fusion core. Our scientists cannot explain it." The council chamber grew quiet. Everyone there understood the weight of that statement. A ship with that much power could travel farther, fire stronger weapons, and withstand heavier attacks than anything in the Imperial Navy. One of the older historians present, Dr. Elra, cleared his throat. If I may remind the Council, there is one species with a history of unpredictable leaps in technology: humans. Several officers laughed at the suggestion. Humans? General Torrens scoffed. Their ships barely travel between their own colonies. Their largest vessel is a transport frigate. This, he pointed at the hologram, is beyond them. Dr. Elra did not smile. History has taught us that humans do not always show their full hand. They have built powerful weapons in secret before. Their world wars ended with sudden and shocking inventions. The room fell into uneasy silence. Barine turned to the historian. Are you suggesting that this vessel could be human? I am saying, Elra replied, that it would be foolish to dismiss the possibility. The Emperor himself entered the chamber, flanked by 2 guards. Everyone stood. He walked slowly to the table, his gaze fixed on the image of the warship. I have seen the reports, he said, in a calm but cold voice. And I have made my decision. This vessel will not be allowed to move freely in our space. Varen nodded. We have already ordered 3 battlecruisers to intercept. They will rendezvous with the ISS Valor in 2 days. Good, the Emperor said. But I want more. Prepare the border fleets. If this ship is hostile, we will respond with full force. Orders went out across the Empire. On distant stations, crews scrambled to battle stations. Reserve fleets were called to readiness. Communications officers sent encrypted messages to every sector, warning them to watch for the massive, unidentified vessel. In the Outer Rim, Captain Lena Brooks received her updated orders. She was to maintain shadow contact with the warship until the reinforcements arrived. She read the rest of the message twice. The Empire now considered the vessel a potential Class 1 threat, the highest danger rating given to any unknown contact. On the Valor's bridge, the crew felt the tension rise. It was one thing to follow a strange ship. It was another to do so knowing the entire Empire was preparing for war. Ethan Cole leaned over Lena's chair. They're scared, he said quietly. Scared? Lena asked. Yes, Ethan replied. When the Empire goes on high alert this fast, it means they think the threat is real. They're treating this thing like it could take on a fleet. Lena didn't respond. Her eyes stayed on the view screen where the massive vessel still moved, calmly through the stars. She couldn't shake the feeling that the ship knew it was being watched and that it simply didn't care. Back in the capital, debates continued in hidden meeting rooms. Some argued for immediate diplomacy. Others said they should capture the vessel for study. A few even suggested destroying it outright before it reached the heart of Imperial space. But there was one thing everyone agreed on. The galaxy had changed the moment this ship appeared. Whether it belonged to humans, another unknown power, or something older. Its presence meant the Empire was no longer the only master of the stars. Far out in the void, the unknown warship kept its steady pace, silent and unreadable. And in every corner of the Empire, from the grand halls of the capital to the cramped bunks of frontier outposts, a single question spread through whispers and speculation: who built it, and what would happen when it finally decided to speak. Strisk. The ISS Valor had been following the massive warship for 4 days when the unexpected happened. The crew had grown used to the silence from the strange vessel. Every attempt to hail it had failed. It had never changed its speed or course, and it never reacted to being tracked. But then, without warning, the ship sent a signal. It started. As a small blip on the communication console, the sound was so ordinary that the officer on duty almost missed it. But when the signal began to stabilize, the computer displayed a translation message. Incoming voice transmission. Imperial Standard Language detected. Lena Brooks was on the bridge when the voice came through. It was calm, steady, and unmistakably human. "This is Captain Ryan Carter of the Earth Defense Navy vessel Horizon. We request safe passage through your territory. We mean no harm to the Empire or its people." The bridge fell silent. Every officer turned toward Lena, their eyes wide. A human voice. The rumors had been true. Lena leaned forward toward the microphone. "This is Captain Lena Brooks of the Imperial vessel Valor. You are entering restricted space. Identify your purpose and cargo." The reply came almost instantly. "Our mission is peaceful. We are traveling to a neutral system for diplomatic talks. We will not deviate from our course. We ask that you maintain a safe distance." Lena studied the sound of the man's voice. He spoke with a quiet confidence, not arrogant, but certain. It was the kind of tone that belonged to someone who knew exactly what they could do, and knew that everyone else would be thinking about it too. Ethan Cole leaned close to Lena and whispered, "Oh, he's not afraid of us." Lena ignored the comment and pressed for more information. "Your vessel is unlike anything on record. How did Earth come to possess such a warship?" There was a pause on the other end, long enough to make the crew wonder if the signal had been cut. Then Carter answered, "Our technology is the result of many years of preparation. We do not wish to explain the details. Suffice it to say, Earth is ready to defend itself if needed. But again, we have no intention of engaging in conflict with the Empire." The last part of the message was polite, but the words carried weight. If this was truly a human ship, it meant humans had advanced far beyond what the Empire believed possible. And if Earth had one of these ships, they might have more. Imperial Command was immediately informed. The moment the transmission was relayed to the capital, the Emperor and the Admiralty convened again. Opinions were divided. Some urged caution, suggesting they grant passage and avoid provoking a potential new superpower. Others demanded the ship be detained for questioning. The Emperor ordered that the 3 battlecruisers already en route continue toward the contact point. On the Valor, Lena received orders to delay the Horizon until reinforcements arrived. She knew what that meant. The Empire wanted to see just how far they could push this human captain before he reacted. The next few hours were tense. Lena sent a request to the Horizon, asking it to reduce speed for navigation safety. The human ship replied with a polite refusal, stating its engines would maintain current output. Lena sent a second message, warning that Imperial protocol required inspection of foreign vessels in restricted space. This time, Captain Carter simply said, "Inspection will not be necessary. We will continue on our route." Ethan muttered. Under his breath, "He's not going to stop for us." The crew could see the truth of it on the main screen. The Horizon moved forward without hesitation. Even when the Valor edged closer, the human ship did not alter its course. It's enormous. Shadow filled the view, and the faint patterns of light along its hull seemed to shift like flowing rivers of energy. Asterisk. By the time the 3 battlecruisers entered sensor range, the Valor's crew was on edge. The battlecruisers were some of the most powerful ships in the Imperial Navy, each one armed with heavy cannons and torpedo banks. Compared to them, the Valor was small. But compared to the Horizon, even the battlecruisers looked modest. The lead battlecruiser hailed the human ship, ordering it to stop engines and prepare for boarding. Lena waited for Carter's reply. When it came, his voice was still calm, but the words were sharper. "Imperial vessels, you are advised to clear our path. We are not a threat, but we will not submit to interference. This is your final warning." The bridge of the Valor went completely quiet. Lena knew the next few moments could decide everything. The battlecruisers did not move. Instead, they spread out into an intercept formation, blocking the Horizon's path. For the first time, There was visible change on the human ship. The faint lines of light along its hull brightened, and the readings on the Valor's sensors began to spike. Whatever power source drove that vessel was coming alive. Lena's stomach tightened. She had no doubt now if the Horizon chose to fight, it could destroy them all. She also knew the Empire had just stepped into dangerous territory. The human captain had spoken. The question was whether the Empire would listen. The 3 Imperial battlecruisers formed a solid wall in front of the Horizon. Their weapon systems powered up, the glow of their heavy cannons reflecting faintly off their armored hulls. Every ship in the formation was at full battle readiness. From a distance, they looked like immovable sentinels of the Empire. On the bridge of the ISS Valor, Lena Brooks felt the tension thicken in the air. She had been ordered to observe, but every instinct told her that this situation was about to explode. Ethan Cole stood beside her, his hands resting on the back of her chair. "They're pushing him too far," he whispered. The comms officer reported that the lead battlecruiser had issued a final order to the Horizon. "Halt immediately, or be fired upon." Lena watched the image of the massive human ship on the main display. It didn't slow. It didn't turn. It simply kept moving forward, steady as a tide. Then, in a single moment, everything changed. The hull of the Horizon lit up, not with weapon fire, but with patterns of deep blue and silver light. The energy rippled outward from its center, spreading across its surface in flowing lines. The Valor sensors began to scream with warnings. Power readings surged higher than anything recorded in Imperial history. The Horizon's voice came across the comms. Calm, but unshakable. "We are maintaining our course. You will stand aside." The lead battlecruiser fired first. A pair of bright energy bolts streaked toward the Horizon. But before they could even touch the ship, a translucent field of shimmering light flared into existence around it. The bolts hit the shield and simply vanished, as though absorbed into nothing. "Shields," Ethan said in disbelief. "No, that's not a shield." "The readings, Captain. It's something else entirely." The other 2 battlecruisers joined in, launching volleys of heavy fire. The results were the same. Every weapon discharge was swallowed by the shimmering field without so much as a flicker of impact. Then the Horizon responded, but not with weapons. From the underside of the massive vessel, a single narrow beam of pale light shot out. It touched the lead battlecruiser's engines for less than 2 seconds. There was no explosion, no damage to the hull. But instantly, the Imperial ship's thrusters went dark. It began to drift helplessly in space. The bridge of the Valor went silent. No one spoke as they watched one of the Empire's most powerful warships rendered useless in an instant. The Horizon's voice returned, still calm. "You are advised to avoid further actions that could be misinterpreted as hostile. We will continue on our path." The remaining 2 battlecruisers hesitated. The Empire's reputation was built on strength, but even the most loyal captain could see the truth. If this ship could disable one of them so easily, it could do the same to all of them, manned worse. Lena's heart pounded as she realized what had just happened. The Horizon had not destroyed anything. It had made a point. It was showing the Empire what it could do, and it had done so without killing a single soul. That was a level of control and restraint she rarely saw in war. On the comms, the 2nd battlecruiser captain spoke with a strained voice. "Horizon, we acknowledge your request. You may proceed." One by one, the Imperial ships moved out of the way. The massive human warship glided forward, passing between them without altering its speed. The Valor followed at a respectful distance as the Horizon's shadow passed over the lead battlecruiser. Its engines flickered back to life. It was as if the human ship had released its grip the moment it no longer needed to make a point. Ethan let out a slow breath. That, he said, wasn't just power. That was confidence. They knew exactly how much force to use. Lena didn't answer right away. She was thinking about the implications. The humans had this kind of technology. They could defend themselves against almost any fleet in the galaxy. And if this was just one ship, how many more could they have waiting beyond the edge of known space? Back in the capital, the news of the encounter traveled fast. The recordings of the Horizon shields and the disabling beam spread among military channels, each officer who saw them reacting with the same mix of disbelief and unease. The Empire had faced powerful opponents before, but never one that could shrug off an attack without firing back in kind. On the horizon, Captain Ryan Carter monitored his ship's progress. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He knew. The Empire had been testing him, and now they had their answer. The message had been sent. Humanity would not be underestimated again. The Imperial capital had not been this unsettled in decades. In secure meeting rooms, high-ranking officers replayed the recordings from the Horizon encounter over and over again. Every detail was studied: the strange patterns of light on its hull, the invisible barrier that consumed enemy fire, the narrow beam that shut down a battlecruiser's engines without damaging the ship. The scientists of the Imperial Research Division worked day and night to analyze the data. They compared it to every known power source in the galaxy. The results were baffling. The energy output from the Horizon's core was unlike anything they had seen. It was not standard fusion, nor antimatter, nor any recognized technology. Some theorized it might be a form of dark matter reactor, a power source thought to be impossible to control. Others suggested it was an entirely new principle of physics, one the Empire had never imagined. In the military council, arguments grew heated. Admiral Varen warned that the Horizon could be the first of many such ships. If the humans have one, he said, they may have a fleet hidden somewhere. If so, the balance of power in the galaxy is already shifting. General Torrin still doubted the human connection. We have not confirmed it is theirs, he argued. For all we know, this is an ancient ship they found and rebuilt. Dr. Elra, the historian, disagreed. The voice on the transmission was human, and the design of the vessel, while unique, carries hints of human engineering, efficient, practical, yet intimidating. If it were an alien relic, they would not have had such control over its systems. Meanwhile, on the ISS Valor, Lena Brooks sent daily reports to command. She kept her ship at a careful distance from the Horizon, close enough to observe, but far enough to avoid provoking a reaction. She noted that the Horizon never strayed from its stated path. It made no aggressive moves, did not alter speed, and ignored smaller Imperial ships that kept their distance in quiet moments. Lena found herself thinking about Captain Ryan Carter. His calm voice stayed in her mind. He had not spoken like a conqueror or a warmonger. He had spoken like someone delivering a warning, not out of arrogance, but out of certainty. One night, as the Valor's crew rested, Ethan Cole joined Lena on the observation deck. The Horizon was visible in the distance, a dark shape lit by faint lines of shifting energy. "What do you think they're hiding?" Ethan asked. Lena folded her arms. "If I had to guess, I'd say this ship is just the surface. The real secret is how they built it without anyone noticing. If Earth can do this once, they can do it again." Ethan frowned. "You think they have more?" "I think," Lena said slowly, "that they wouldn't send their only one into enemy space." In the capital, whispers spread through the upper circles of government. Some claimed Earth had been quietly developing advanced technology for decades, hiding their progress behind false data and outdated public ships. Others suggested they had discovered something in deep space, an ancient power source. Perhaps. Or a technology abandoned by an extinct race. A few conspiracy-minded officials went further. They spoke of rumors that humans had been sending unmanned probes far beyond the known galaxy, mapping distant systems in secret. If that were true, humanity might already know more about the galaxy than the Empire itself. The Emperor listened to every theory, but he spoke little. When he finally addressed the council, his words were simple. We will not underestimate them. Prepare for the possibility that Earth is our equal or our superior. Those words sent a chill through the room. The Empire had not considered another species as a true equal in over a century. To suggest it now was almost unthinkable. Asterisk. Back in the Outer Rim, the Horizon continued its steady progress. On board, Captain Carter kept his bridge crew focused and calm. His mission was more than just passing through Imperial space, was a demonstration. The Empire needed to see the Horizon and understand what it represented. Fear could be as powerful a weapon as any cannon. The Valar followed silently, recording every detail. Lena knew that data would be studied for years, perhaps decades. But she also knew that no amount of analysis could prepare the Empire for the truth if humans really had a fleet of ships like this. The stars outside drifted past in silence. But inside every Imperial command room, the noise of speculation and fear grew louder. The Horizon was no longer just an unknown ship, was a symbol. A reminder that the galaxy was bigger than the Empire's pride. And that somewhere, out there, a once overlooked world had found a way to rise above every expectation. Lena had a feeling the Empire was only beginning to understand what that meant. Asterisk, the Horizon was now only a day away from the border of Imperial space. The ISS Valor had been its shadow for the entire journey, never interfering, never engaging directly, but always watching. The crew of both ships knew this quiet chase would soon come to an end. Lena Brooks stood on the Valor's bridge, her eyes fixed on the strange human vessel ahead. Its black surface shimmered faintly, as if light itself bent around it. The shifting lines of energy along its hull moved in a rhythm that no one could quite predict. Captain Ethan Cole said from the sensor station, "The Horizon just sent us a tight beam transmission. Audio only." Lena nodded. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was calm and steady, just as she remembered. "Captain Brooks," Ryan Carter said, "we are approaching the border. Before we leave, there's something you should understand." Lena glanced at her officers. The bridge fell silent. "You've been wondering how one ship could travel through your space without fear," Carter continued. "You've studied our hull, our energy systems, our weapons. But what you've seen is only one piece of the truth. The Horizon is not our strongest ship. It is not even our newest." There was a pause. The words sank into the room like a heavy weight. "We brought the Horizon," Carter went on, "because it is enough to make you think. But if it were necessary, we could bring more ships faster, stronger, and equipped with things you cannot yet imagine. You have seen one shadow of Earth's strength. You have not seen the rest." Lena leaned forward, gripping the arm of her chair. "If you are trying to intimidate us, I'm trying to prevent what comes next," Carter said sharply. "We do not want war with the Empire. But understand, if war comes, it will not be fought on your terms. It will be over before you can decide how to respond." The bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances. The certainty in Carter's voice was not arrogance. It was the tone of someone who knew the outcome of a battle before it began. "Why tell me this?" Lena asked after a moment. "Because," Carter said, "I believe you understand what your leaders do not. I've seen it in your decisions. You've kept your distance, you've observed without provocation. You want the truth more than you want to fight. That is rare." The transmission ended. There was no farewell, no formal closure. Just silence. For the next hour, the Valor's crew worked in tense quiet. Data from the Horizon systems still came in, though most of it was unreadable. It was as if the ship allowed them to see just enough to fuel curiosity, but never enough to give away real secrets. By night cycle, the horizon reached the border point. Imperial patrol ships hovered nearby but kept well out of its path. The massive vessels slowed slightly, then changed course, gliding into the dark expanse beyond Imperial space. The moment it crossed the border, all of its energy patterns shifted. The faint lines along its hull brightened. The distortion field thickened. And for a moment, it seemed to disappear entirely from sensors. Then, with a burst of silent acceleration, it vanished into the void. Ethan stared at his console. It's gone. Not just out of range, completely gone. No trace on long-range scans. Lena exhaled slowly. They wanted us to see that. In the Imperial capital, the news of the Horizon's departure spread quickly. The military council convened to review the full data collected during its passage. The recordings of Carter's message to Lena were included, and the words caused heated debate. Some officers argued that the humans were bluffing, using fear as a weapon. Others were not so sure. The way the Horizon had acted confident, but never reckless, suggested a deeper power. The possibility that Earth possessed a fleet of even more advanced ships forced the Empire to rethink its strategies. In his private chambers, the Emperor listened to the transmission several times. He said nothing to his aides, but his expression grew darker with each replay. The humans had not asked for anything, yet their presence had unsettled the entire hierarchy of the Empire. On the Valor, Lena recorded her final report. She included every detail, every observation, but she also added her personal view. She wrote that Earth was not seeking conquest, but neither was it weak. She warned that provoking them could bring consequences the Empire was not prepared to face. When she finished, she sat for a long time in silence, staring at the empty space where the Horizon had vanished. She wondered if she would ever see Ryan Carter again, or if this encounter would remain a rare chapter in history a moment. When two paths crossed, leaving behind only questions, the Valor turned back toward the core worlds, engines humming softly in the darkness. Behind them, somewhere beyond the reach of Imperial sensors, the Horizon sailed on, carrying with it the hidden might of Earth. And though Lena could not see it, she knew the message was clear. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy not as a curiosity, not as an underdog, but as a power the Empire would never again underestimate. The Imperial Council Hall was silent except for the soft hum of the great chamber's lights. The leaders of the Empire sat around the long table, their faces tense. News of the Horizon's journey had spread through every level of government and military command. No one could ignore what had happened. High Admiral Sirach was the first to speak. We allowed them to cross our space without challenge. This will make us look weak to our enemies. Perhaps, said Counselor Vela, leaning forward, but attacking them could have made us look foolish, or destroyed us entirely. The Emperor watched them both. His voice was quiet but sharp. You believe their words about greater power? Vela nodded. Yes. The Horizon never showed full strength. It didn't need to. Their captain spoke as one who already knows the outcome of war. Sarek frowned. It could be a bluff. It could, the Emperor said. But the question is, do we wish to gamble the Empire on that belief? The Council murmured an uneasy agreement. No one wanted to admit it, but the humans had shaken the Empire's confidence. Every recorded image, every scan of the Horizon told the same story. This was not a ship built for show. It was built for war, yet it moved through their space as if no threat could touch it. In the days after the meeting, the Empire's intelligence network searched for any trace of Earth's location, its colonies, or its fleet. But the data was incomplete, filled with contradictions. Some reports suggested Earth had only a handful of warships. Others spoke of massive hidden shipyards and fleets waiting beyond charted space. No two accounts matched. Asterisk, meanwhile, far from the Imperial capital, Ryan Carter and the crew of the Horizon sailed through the darkness. In the mess hall, the crew spoke in quiet voices about their mission. Many of them knew they had not just traveled through enemy space, they had sent a message. Carter sat with his first officer, Mara Fields. She studied a small screen, reviewing reports from Earth's command. "The Council is pleased," she said. "They believe the Empire will think twice before acting against us." "They should," Carter replied. "But fear doesn't last forever. One day, they'll test us. When they do, we need to be ready." Mara glanced up. "Do you think they'll attack?" Carter was silent for a moment. "Not yet. Right now. They're trying to understand us. But the more they learn, the more dangerous they'll become." In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stood alone in his private garden. His most trusted aide, Lord Rin, approached quietly. "Sire, the Council is leaning toward caution. They suggest delaying any direct action against the humans." The Emperor nodded. "Good. Let them delay. But also, let them prepare. We will watch the humans. We'll learn their strengths, their weaknesses. And when the time comes, we will decide whether they are friend or enemy." "Do you believe they seek conquest?" Rin asked. The Emperor shook his head slowly. "No. But they will defend themselves with everything they have. That makes them dangerous." Back on the Horizon, Carter gave his final report to Earth Command. He described the journey, the Imperial shadowing, and the conversations with Captain Brooks of the ISS Valor. He also gave his personal assessment. "They will not underestimate us again," he said. "That is both a victory and a warning." Earth's command responded with new orders. The Horizon was to continue deep-range patrols, avoiding unnecessary conflict, but making sure the name of Earth stayed in the minds of those who ruled the stars. Weeks later, in a quiet sector far from Imperial space, the Horizon rendezvoused with another human ship, a larger vessel with heavier armor and weapons hidden under sleek plating. Its presence confirmed Carter's earlier words to the Valor. The Horizon was not Earth's strongest ship. The two captains exchanged greetings. The new ship's commander smiled slightly. "You've stirred up quite the storm in Imperial space. They're asking a lot of questions." "That was the idea," Carter said. The two ships sailed together for a time, their paths cutting through the darkness like silent arrows. Somewhere in the depths of space, messages moved between empires, between fleets, between captains who now knew the humans were no longer a minor race to ignore in the Imperial capital. Captain Lena Brooks was called to a private audience with the Emperor. He studied her quietly before speaking. "You saw them up close. You spoke to their captain. Tell me, if we fought them, what would happen?" Lena hesitated. She remembered the calm in Carter's voice, the confidence that came from certainty, not arrogance. "If we fought them now, we would lose," she said simply. The Emperor did not respond immediately. At last he said, "Then we will not fight them. Not yet." And so an uneasy peace settled between the Empire and Earth. No treaties were signed, no promises made. But in the quiet halls of power, the memory of the Horizon's passage remained, warning written in the silence of the stars. The Horizon sailed on, its crew knowing they had not ended the threat of war, only delayed it. Yet in that delay, there was a chance to prepare, to build, and perhaps, when the time came, to shape the galaxy's future without bloodshed. Asterisk.